talk about club news, transfer news, next coach. I think should be the next coach. Like I say, welcome to Dan Talks United. Feels like we haven't done this for ages. We haven't played for ages, it feels like. Definitely won't have played for ages by the time we play against Leeds. There's the international break. I think there's games on tonight or something like that. England, are they playing tonight or is it tomorrow? Why, I think that. But let's get into things. Like I say, to cover some news. Thought it'd be good just to do a video, do a stream. Feels like there's nothing to talk about because there's no football, but there's plenty of things to talk about. And like I say, there's some news around the club, transfer news. That's starting to hot up now because of this national break. Also, just to talk about the next coach, as I was saying earlier. So let's get into things. So, first, foremost, two people that are not going on the international break. Interesting. And probably explain a few. Oh, so first and foremost, these two, Burma and Vesco, will not join their international teams apparently. And like I say, this may explain sort of like fitness levels. Maybe that's what I'm sort of going off because a lot of us have said that Burma's form has dipped a little bit, but that could be why he's staying behind to try and catch up a little bit because fitness levels aren't quite there. And again, they probably want to have a bit of a look at both Burma and Sesko. That, like I say, probably, I suppose, explains things a little bit in regards to what their form's been like, but too many excuses. We're only playing one game a week. Shouldn't really be a problem there. As we've got the first comment there saying pretty much the same thing. Has not looked fit and dipping form. Sesko's been okay, obviously coming off the bench and what have you. But is he at the races? Have we had the best Sesko in strength and form, scoring goals? Obviously, glad to see that. But let's see what they're like actually after this international break. Since they're stayed behind, let's the coaches take a closer look at them. Hopefully, the fitness coaches around them, refreshed, ready for that league. But let's see. I thought that's quite interesting. Again, for anybody that's watching or anybody that put some comments in afterwards, what are you thinking about this? This explaining things for you? Maybe every chance that that's reason or they're not there because right, but Burma recent drop in form. So let's move on to the man of the moment, or one of the men of the moment. Not Bruno, it's the man of the moment. Like Cass. So a lot of people have been talking about one more year, one more year. It's been heard reverberating round the stadiums. Oh, one more year, Cass, one more year, Cass. But I think looking at this from Adam Crafton at the athletic team, is basically saying that Casemiro obviously is grateful for all the support he's getting. This is sort of like gearing up for the end of the season. Focus is all about trying to get us back into the Champions League so that he can sort of leave on a high. And I think his decision's been made. Decision is firm, and I think it's definitely that's what he's doing. And again, what do you guys think? I think I thought about this, and one point where I said, "There, one more season. It's Casemiro, good in the air, scores the goals from midfield, box crasher, sort of the dark arts guy." Sort of saved us in a sense, or turned things around for us under Eric Ten Hag. Showed his class from Real Madrid, but I think sometimes hold on to things too long, and that one more year, I've said, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but I've always said that to Brazilians seem to have this little sort of a shorter shelf life, if that's fair to say. So he may look pretty good at the minute, but you've got to sort of start to think about, take the emotion out of it and the goals out of it, and just think to yourself, is Casemiro doing what we want him to do in that midfield area? Now, I understand that Meno is sort of playing deeper, and it's Casemiro that's going forward and sort of box crashing, as we were saying earlier. But is that what we really want from our number 6, really? And if he was giving us the tackling, the energy, the up and down, the almost box to box, then you'd probably consider it. But I think I'm not going to take away anything about goals, because obviously that's really good. But I think we need to start thinking about future and moving on and getting midfielder that can do a lot more coming in. So that really push for certain honours next season. Now, I've sort of had that sentimental side of things where I'm thinking, stick around for one more year and sort of help midfield coming through. But does he really want to do that when there's going to be teams out there, lesser league probably, that he could play every game for them? So where he's thinking about going, but if he was going to, like, I don't know, Italy, go to Spain, but if he was going to like Italy, or if he was going to Saudi, play every game, probably I'd not have any issues doing that. I think staying in the Premier League, where quick, fast, powerful sort of league, generally speaking. I know things have changed this season, and that's what I feel, but I think if you get certain teams that get back on form where you'd expect them to be, so obviously Arsenal top of the league, as we know, City a second, but probably not good value for second at times. Then you've got Chelsea, that are not quite where you'd expect them to be. Liverpool, the same after the league. Spurs, look where they are. So these are, and Newcastle. So these are the sort of teams where they get better. We've got to definitely get better, and we have to get better players in that midfield. Overall, I'd say thanks for what you've done, Casemiro. Farewell. That's kind of how I see. But again, put your comments in. What do you think? But I best decision, and get very sentimental and hold on to things too long. Look at your players like Shaw, for example. I know he's done a good job, but he's been here such a long time. Maguire looks like he might be staying. Again, being here such a long time, doing refreshing things, better players to move forward, and that's really quickly. Too much time on this one. Onana, please hope that this is true. That no intention of this back. Appreciate that he's not going to lodge Le Mans. Think that came back and he was the second keeper. Le Mans got injured, let's say. I am this idiot. I really don't want to be in that situation. I've said it before. I probably prefer to put an outfield player in goals before Onana. So, Cox, don't let this guy. Can't have this. Can't have PTSD. No way. So, really quickly, have a real game out in regards to the stadium. Obviously, in conflicting reports on this one. One bit of you thinking, under the impression that this stadium is going to be built by 2030. I think what this is basically saying is that still things that are happening behind the scenes, then that there's progress. It's all about that process before the build. The build would take 5 years, but in terms of a start date, I'm not so sure that. And I think this is more about clarification. Not going to be there by process. I think there was still a bit of land, just the current stadium that they hold of. Negotiations there still in regards to that. So I think that's resolved. Also about where the funds are going to come from. So I've talked about government funding, sponsorships, like that. So that all has to arrives. Who knows when that's going to. And just really quickly on to the transfer news. Just a little bit of fun here because I mean, there's been a lot of teams have started doing a lot of bantering. Fine, I've got this old now. This band seen what's come out of like Chelsea at the minute with Liam Senior talks about respecting the ball. Obviously, after Everton thrashed them 3-0, this came out from Everton, respecting the ball. Top level banter. So, we're going to move on to transfer news now. Who would you like to see come in? And there's a lot of sort of talk around the midfield, as you'd expect, because of Mira going. Only really got Maynard there. We need to really bolster that midfield challenge, especially if usual suspects and come back stronger. Definitely need. So I've got a few options here that we'll just quickly touch on. There is one that isn't a midfielder, more attacking player, but is in the mix. Oh, who would you have? Who would you pick? Who would you go for? Got Bruno Guimaraes there. We've got Anderson. We've got Labour. We've got Wharton, Gomez, and last one, and Diamonde. Now, midfielder is winger, probably come back as well. Linked to him for time now. I think even linked to him around. Being a bit of a lengthy link. Just quickly touch on him before we go on to the midfielders. Was that rumour that he was a Liverpool fan, so potential that we hear him, but then clarified saying that not strictly true because it's his dad that's a Liverpool fan. Interesting, but it doesn't really matter per se because there's a lot of players out there that are fans of other teams. Even more recently when you had Roy Keane talking about not being a Manchester United fan and he's more a Spurs fan, this does happen. The players that are fans of other teams, but they don't play. So, does it matter? Not really for me. I think if you put everything into it, at the end of the day, it's a job for these players. And a lot of players aren't really fans like you and I. So, it doesn't really matter too much in the main. We had Veghorst, that's a Liverpool fan. And we had him playing for us. He did put everything in. The best player in the world, Ten Hag, but he put everything in for Manchester United. But he was a Liverpool fan. I'm sure he was even caught touching Liverpool crest when we played against Liverpool at Anfield. Again, no, it was a way he was trying best. United. So again, didn't matter. Because we don't like Liverpool, we hate Liverpool, so we wouldn't want any of our players who play for us to support them. But sometimes you just got to put that to one side. If it's a player, that's going to make a difference for the club. But anyway, let's move on to the midfield in this chart in a sense. So you got Bruno Guimaraes, what I said there. Was some links, more heavier links, probably more last week. Seems to be cooling off a little bit, but this happens with transfers anyway. You get some strong transfers that come in where it's like really wants to Manchester United, or we are in advanced talks with the agent, all this sort of stuff. I do believe we've spoken to the agent of Bruno Guimaraes. Would normally say to you that we would sort of speak to the agents, sort of, get a temperature check for the player. What does the player want to do? Do they want to stay at the current club? Do they want to move? Are they open to a move? Open to Manchester United? I think if you start to advance the talks, or you talk more than once, you would imagine that the player is interested. Sometimes, though, it's more of a bargaining chip for him to get more money out of the current club, and they may sort of spin a line to us and get us on board so that they've got that sort of bargaining chip when they go to Newcastle in this case and say, look, don't give him a renewed contract. Manchester United are interested. Could be in the Champions League next season. That sort of thing does help a player get a better contract. Current club, but who knows? We'll see how that comes out. But for me, I don't know what people think who might be watching or who might come in later on. 29, I think he's going to be this year. So he's a touch on that older side, but again, he's going to be a bit of a game changer. Is it worth it? We do need experience as well. It can't all be the young players. We can't be just copying off that Chelsea model where it's just young player, young player, young player. It's nothing for them. Huddling around the referee, trusting the ball. We want that for our club. Definitely not. Moving on to Anderson then, who's currently at Forest, trying his best to keep Forest up. That could change his how much he'll go transfer-wise in terms of monetary value if they get relegated, potentially. That Marinakis is not a person to negotiate with. Big guy at New Forest. Stopped Gibbs White from leaving to Spurs. A lot of influence there, obviously. It's his club and more boss into really. So who? Yes, Anderson could be a good additive, but we believed it seemed to be a little bit ahead of us in the sort of negotiations, if you want to call it that. Their interest seems to be a bit more concrete than ours, although led to be believed our top target for this summer. Again, he's an international now. He's been played for England a few times, I'd say, if more times than that. I'm sure picked in this 5-man squad. Watched him play, not in a lot of depth. I've seen him play against us not so long ago. All action, like the sort of midfielder that we need. Passing seems decent, seems aggressive. He's the quickest in the world, but he's tenacious. Still young. I'm not sure of his age, but still young. So would be a good additive for Manchester United. And probably between him and Bruno Guimaraes, I'd like the top picks. But again, all about me. What do you guys think? Put your comment. Then the one that we actually went for in the summer, but they didn't quite put a bid in because Brighton were budging. Quite firm decision that they weren't going to sell him until this summer. Baleba. Now the problem with Baleba, as everybody knows, not had a great season. Did all right in the AFCON, I believe. In a few clips, but you don't always know if they're older clips or not, where he still seems to have that ball sticks to his foot ability, that drive, strength, tenacity, but he has been subbed off quite a bit. That's due to poor performances. Dipped a lot since we were going for him. Now he's a young player that being linked to Manchester United. Probably got a couple of people at Manchester United already that knows. Could be one of, might not be the club for him, but it might be one of the dreams. A lot of kids, a lot of young players have stuff. Barcelona, Real Madrid in their heads, Manchester United of old in there. Who they would want to play for. More modern times, like City. So a team like Manchester United, all that heritage, all that history coming in for you. You're at Brighton. And obviously, Brighton have always been seen as that sort of club where you're there for a short period of time, put yourself in the shop window, you do well for a season or two, and Brighton, generally speaking, happy to sell on. That's model there. That's what they expect. So, has it knocked him a little bit? Is that the reason why he's off form? Is that good? That good? Is that something that we want to buy when player can be knocked like that? What if we have him for a couple of seasons? Really need him for the third season. Real Madrid come in and sort of turn his head, do the same to us. This is the thing. It's always fine to say, I don't really care that he's dipped in form. We'll get him cheaper. He wants to really come to Manchester United. But in the future, end of the day, or so many players, whether it be players that have played for us or players that we've gone for, that Real Madrid just lost. Ronaldo was the biggest ones that got to me was losing Ronaldo to them. So a lot of players want to wear that famous white kit, and if this happens again, I know he'll be older, so maybe you can handle it a bit better. But right now, it's not looking like he's taking that very well. And if you think about it in a more sinister view, I really hope that he's not playing badly on purpose to try and reduce transfer fee, that he can engineer that move to Manchester United, because that would just equally as poor. I think I'd prefer that he's poor because of the mental side, that he didn't get his dream move, although that's still not great. I don't want a player that would purposefully play to his best that he can get a move. It's almost like a protest. I'm not interested in that because, again, there's a lot of fans out there that be like, I don't care that he's protesting, or I don't care that he doesn't want to play. It's a bit like Gyökeres going to Arsenal, where he's basically gone off on holiday, threatened not to train, and all this sort of stuff. That hurts you down the line. Isak did it as well, coming from Newcastle to Liverpool. Liverpool fans would be happy about it because they really wanted to go. They don't care that he protested, but then what if Isak gets linked to Real Madrid? He'll do it to you. Same thing here. He'll do it to you. So you might think it's all right at the time. Don't get enough out of them. Maybe if you've got them for 5 or 6 years and you fight a bit with them, you might not be bothered, but do it after 2 or 3 years. Do it to you. That's what you got to count. Wharton there, then down at the bottom there, bottom left. Again, a lot of people are saying that he's very similar to Mano. I'd probably say, fair to say, that he's probably a better passer, probably a better tackler as well, bit more tenacious, I would say, as well. So they're very similar, you'd probably say, but I think Wharton's possibly got a bit more about him in terms of operating as a 6. But again, isn't my top pick. I don't think he showed himself in much glory when we played Palace last, or even the first time this season we played him. To be both home and away for me, blow me away. I think there was times where he was conducting things a little bit, but is it enough where I noticed him much? I can't say I did. Don't know. A bit of a wild card one there is João Gomez. He's kind of been linked to us a few times, dotted around here and there. I must admit, I don't know too much about it because I haven't really watched Wolves. He's one of those players that sort of picked up the mantle from sort of trying to make that team tick a little bit, but good player, I believe. A lot of energy again. Got youth on his side. Would be nice to bring him in as like a second, third midfielder. I wouldn't want him to be our marquee. Definitely not. So again, a good option, just not sure. That sort of covers that. So again, if anybody's watched, put in who you would want number one midfielder. You think we could get 2 off this list? Put Diamonde to one side, who's that bottom right, because he's not a midfielder. He's just there because been news around him being linked to us, or we're scouting him. Isn't scouting him. But out of Guimaraes, Anderson, Baleba, Wharton, Gomez, do you think we could get 2 there? Do you think we could get a combination of Anderson and Gomez, for example? I don't think we could do Anderson and Wharton purely because of the price of both. I think similarly with Baleba, because I mean, although a price didn't come out, as I probably said earlier, you were at the start of the season, you were looking at those 100+ figures, Caicedo type figures. I wouldn't suspect that you'd be looking at that now after this season's performances. Probably still looking at north of 60, 70, I would say. So you'd be looking at very similar with Anderson. Maranakis isn't just going to let him go for nothing unless there's a behind the scenes agreement. So if you were trying to get your Anderson Labour or your Anderson Wharton, you're looking, won't be far off 200. Just don't think it's possible, but I think getting an Anderson and a Gomez maybe, or a Belaber and Gomez, or a Wharton and Gomez is doable. I think that Guimaraes could be a bit of a red herring, but we'll have to see how that pans out. But again, I know they're not going to get relegated. If they're not in the Champions League, I've upset Newcastle fans in the past about this, but I do feel that they'll have to sell. And I don't mean they have to sell because they're skint, because they're probably the richest club in the Premier League. With their owners, I'm sure they're richer than the City owners. It's not that. It's the fact that we know that they, because of FFP and stuff like that, PSR, you name it, they're unable to just splash the cash, meet those rulings, unless they want to do what Chelsea have done and risk it. Going to have to, especially if they're not in the Champions League, going to have to sell someone for me. Now, I know Tonali's there. That could be there for sale. I personally don't want Tonali because I think there's too much of a mist around him for me. I don't want to judge too much because, again, addictions are addiction. But when it comes to football terms, you've got to trust that that player is going to be there for you. There's rumours that he might want to go back to Italy. It's just that is there an Italian club these days that can afford him? He's probably going to have to play out his contract before he goes back home. I don't know. Does he want to stay in Premier League? I'm not sure. But so that sort of wraps up transfers to a certain extent. A couple of things I just want to pick up on that are kind of like, are they true? Are they false? But let's have a quick look at this one. This is Alphonso Davies. Christian Falk, who is a credible journalist around Bayern Munich in particular. I don't trust him for anything else, if I'm honest, because there's been certain things where he's tried to stick his nose in transfers outside the Bundesliga, and I think he gets them wrong quite a lot. But when it comes to things in the Bundesliga, I think it's pretty good around Bayern. I would suggest there's possibly some truth in this. Now, these teams, like your Real Madrids and Barcelona's, Bayern Munich in this circumstance, maybe not Barcelona at times, definitely Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, they don't let players go unless there's a problem for me. What I mean by that is Real Madrid will let you have Veron because he's coming towards the end of his time. They'll let you have a Casemiro because the players that better and they're not going to utilize Casemiro as much. They'll let you have players like that are coming towards the end of their careers or causing issues of, like in this case, picture just sort of tells 1,000 words there, is that's possibly him trudging off injured because Bayern don't lose him, so that picture's because that, I'd say it's off injured. And do we want an injury-prone player? We've already got Mount. I know Shaw has miraculously stayed fit most of this season so far. Generally speaking, we've got Maguire that's starting to get injuries. We've got Delict that's been out a while now. We've got Martinez that seems to be injury-prone. So do we want another one? A very good player. I think if getting him really cheap and his salary was low, fair enough. But as far as I'm aware, he's on quite a high salary at Bayern, and Bayern aren't going to let him leave cheap. So it's a no from me. Very hard to say no because I've always liked this player. Very good fullback, very quick, up and down, can do the wing back role. Almost like an attacker. He's really like an attacker when he goes forward, like a winger, should I say, when he goes forward. I remember it must have been World Cup. Plays for Canada. Real for Canada. Canada are not a great team, but he obviously going to shine a team like that. But against these teams, he was proper trying to drag that team. Very good player. Very good player. Score, can assist, can create, can Ross, that sort of thing. Beat a man. Very good play. But for me, no from me. But again, watching, commenting, taking, I just don't think. So I'd say it's a little bit of fun, but there's serious put out by United Stand. Basically, would you take Spurs player got relegated? Now, I don't actually think Spurs are going to get relegated because I think the teams below them are worse somehow, but they are. I just don't see West Ham winning enough games to push down. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Igor Tudor because I know he's had some personal issues. So I don't know whether they're waiting 2 days and giving a bit of grace before they sack him. I'm not sure what's going on there. But I just think they're going to beat the drop because team. I mean, Wolves are too far gone anyway, even though playing way better than Spurs. Burnley, I can't see them being able to win any games or enough games to drag Spurs into it. And then West Ham's the only hope to places, but I just don't see. I think they'll stay up. But anyway, the question was, would you take any players? Spurs got relegated, and I think the reason being because we know that there'd be a lot of players that would want to leave if they're relegated, and you could possibly get them cheaper than normal. Now, in that picture there, for them all to be fair, but I think Milani there, I don't know if he's their player, if he's on loan from there. But Xavi Simmons, that's in the middle there. Ed Spence, Doggy, that left hand side. But for me, I mean, a Doggy's not a bad player to be fair, but I think the only one that I'd really consider, because it used to be Van der Ven, who was not in the picture. Centre back, really quick centre back, but seems to be. I know a lot of their players aren't playing well anyway during relegation battle, if you want to call it that. But I've kind of gone off Van der Ven a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, he could really up his form if he would go to a better team performing. I appreciate that. There's plenty of times that our players have not been up to it when we've not been playing well. But then they've sort of spiked in performance under Carrick, for example. But I've kind of gone off Van der Ven because, again, that injury proneness seems to be there a little bit. But a very good centre back when he's on his day, very quick, can play that high line with him. If you partner him up with the right centre back, he'd probably be quite amazing. But after just, oh yes, what's up? Dash there, coming in there. Yes. How's things? Yes, just doing a bit of a live there, Dash. Just through things, just done bit of club news, bit of transfer news. Coming towards the end of the transfer now, so we're just on the topic of would we take any Spurs players there, Dash? And thanks for popping in. Tell me if you take any Spurs players right now, especially if they got relegated. Any Spurs players that you'd be interested in? Now, like I said, there's not many for me. Simmons is someone that I'd probably think about. He's a decent player. It's one of those where I think if at this stage, if Bruno was to leave, you have someone like Simmons, could he step in? Now, obviously, not to get the same numbers, but could he step in as a creative number 10 to a certain extent? Looked pretty good when I've seen him. Got a bit of a drive on him as well, a bit of a dribble on him, can score goals. Don't know what his numbers are this season, honest, but great in this Spurs side anyway. Yeah. But yeah, like I say, Dash, if you're there, tell me what you think. Any players that you'd sign, because I've been over some midfielders that we're sort of linked to, have been linked to for a while. So Dash here saying take a couple as long as the price is cheap. Yeah, and I won't want to spend loads of money on Spurs players. I want too many that have got infected by this poor run of form, this relegation, a lot in their minds psychologically. Yeah, Spence definitely. I think Spence is a good player. Better than our fullbacks for me anyway. And again, he's one of those that could probably. I mean, I don't want to say back because it makes it feel like we're going to go back to that 5 at the back, 3 at the back. But sometimes you need to change systems slightly depending on what's happening in the game. We have seen it's been happening under the radar, but we have seen Carrick sort of do this, sort of play that sort of almost hammering system at times. So it can happen at certain points of the game. So he do that. We want a player that can actually get up and down. I think Spence can. I really rated Spence just before he went to Spurs and thought that was quite a shrewd signing for them. Just that first went, I think Conte. I don't think Conte really rated him. But good. Yes. So you probably missed what I said, Dash, earlier. And again, thanks for dropping in, Dash. All good, man. Van de Ven. I really liked Van de Ven. Really liked him up to more recently. Not so much that I don't like him as a player, because I still think he's got the qualities, the speed, you name it. It's more about, is he injury prone? It's more about, is he really stepping up to the plate when Spurs are at their lowest? And I appreciate there's a lot of players at Spurs that are not playing great, and why they're in the situation they're in. But you still want people to stand up and be counted. Oh yes, pulling out all the stops there. Kulusevski, forgot about him because I think he's been out injured. That is one player down the left, not that it matters, but he, yeah, Kulusevski, I'd have Kulusevski along. Again, you're helping me out here, Dash, because about them Spurs players, because I'm kind of tying them all with the same brush, which I couldn't do because every player you've mentioned there is quality. So Spence, I think there's a place for him somewhere at a better side. Xavi Simons, again, I think he has to be at a better team. Van de Ven, always sort of imagined him playing with Virgil van Dijk. He twerks at Van Dijk, but joking aside, Van Dijk at his best, Van de Ven at the best would be formidable. Kulusevski, again, he definitely, and then Pedro Porro, wasn't even thinking about him, and again, where he gets up and down, I'd love a play like that right now at Manchester United. Not the best that's available, but when you're thinking about raiding a team that might go down, Pedro Porro, yes, I'd have to say yes on that one too. But again, like Dash, like my man here, Dash has said, it's all about the price. SCJ one, but it is all about the price tag. So if we can get them at a decent price and the salaries aren't stupid because it's a fit within our wage structure, like it or not, yeah, Porro's a massive shout there. So that's probably enough about. Just want to not wrap things up per se, because we're just going to come on to coaches now. No, we've talked about coach a lot. Doesn't seem like there's much progress on it. Quickly, this. So this is kind of what we've been linked to. There's one that's missing, but we'll come on to that. So obviously Carrick himself, who's currently in charge, is the only one that we know how he's sets up for Manchester United, because obviously all the rest have never coached Manchester United, and we're just guessing what they might do. One guy there, top left, who we see week in, week out, and what he's up to. That's Carrick. Now, obviously, I've been on the Carrick train to a certain extent, but I've also got PTSD from Ollie. So that's what's kind of holding me back a little bit. I've still got it in my mind that although I'm not too bothered about this full-on coaching philosophy after Amorim, that's kind of scarred me a little bit as well. I like Carrick. I like what he's doing at the moment. I'm just going to sort of reserve that until maybe towards more close to the end of the season, see where he fares, and also what other options we've got. So as Dash is saying there, when will you invite for a chat? Yes, definitely haven't forgotten. The truth of the matter is, the platform I'm using right now, I can't invite you onto it. It's just a very old school platform that allows me to go live as solo. What I need to do is switch, which I'm hoping to do very soon. StreamYard. I think it's quite a probably have heard of that Dash StreamYard. Once I've got that and set up on that and I know what I'm doing, I'll definitely invite you on that because I know you can invite people onto that. And then we'll definitely chew the fat over Manchester United. We'll definitely chat it out, get your perspective. I know you're from the States. We can talk about how you see things. And obviously, I know that you're into other sports as well, so it'd be interesting just to have a good old chat about everything, really. So I'm looking forward to that. I just need to sort things out, get myself on a different streaming platform, and then definitely do that. And also, what I want to do for people to watch and listen and stuff is be able to pin people's comments on the screen so everybody can see what I'm reading from. So that's all to come. And as you probably know, Dash, my first season doing this content creation thing. So started this in August last year. So we're all about evolving. We're all about getting better. All about growing together and trying to get this community grown. So the next step, the next stage is to get on a different platform so I can do a bit more. But like I said, not no word of a lie. We'll do things definitely as soon as I can. Just need to change platform. So, next coach. Touched on Carrick there. Glasner is a no for me. And obviously that's to do with Amorim and that three in the back. And I appreciate that Glasner's played that three at the back system better in the Premier League than Amorim did, but I'm still not interested in it. Areola, decent coach, but again, is one of the hipsters in my opinion. I don't want another hipster coach, and I've said this before. What I mean by hipster coach is that coach that the online community talk about and say this is the next best thing. This is the next best thing. Look what he's doing at this club. Bournemouth aren't the best team in the world, but look, they play decent football. I get all that, but Manchester United's juggernaut is a different level of pressure. Probably said this before because I heard out from journalists where got a Thomas Frank that goes to Spurs. He's at Brentford. Literally might have 2 or 3 journalists in the journalist room when he's press conference. There's much bright lights and razzmatazz. Goes to Spurs and the amount of journalists in the press room pulls true. Come to Manchester United and they have to turn people away. They can't get them all in the press room. So the amount of scrutiny, the amount of paper inches, column inches that we get, completely different pressure. So that has to be contended with, along with day-to-day coaching, day-to-day management of the club. It's not easy. Emery is probably in a much better position to handle a lot of that. A lot of Arsenal fans will say didn't do it at Arsenal. I'm not going to comment on that. Nor right elsewhere. More notably in Spain, where he's won Europa Leagues. Good coach. He has transformed Villa for me pretty much with the same team that Gerrard had, Steve G. Got more of a consistency out of Villa, getting them finishing in top 4 bracket. So, yeah, Emery's a good shout. Nagelsmann, now again, he's another hipster for me. That is probably hipster plus because I know Glasner has won the cup. Not sure what Areola's done in the past, but Nagelsmann obviously Munich and his league there and stuff like that. Not sure how he ended there. It's one of those where it could have been a sacking because disagreement. I don't think it was performances per se. That Leipzig before that and had a really good Leipzig team, to be fair. Did quite like how they played. Then is an option, is a possibility, but he's still a hipster. But I'd probably put him in hipster plus category. And then De Zerbi there, another hipster for me. Looked well at Brighton, fairly well at Marseille, I believe. Not sure where he was before Brighton. Probably won stuff before Brighton. Where hothead Italian, I think a bit of Conte there led him to leave in Marseille, I believe. He looks more geared up for waiting to see what's going to happen at Spurs, so I can see him slotted in there. I think Spurs are quite keen on him. Between him and Pochettino, they probably want to go new and not go back and go forward with De Zerbi. So hopefully he's going there. I don't want De Zerbi, but I don't know what people think who might be watching. So off that list, Carrick's a consideration. Emery would be a consideration, and Nagelsmann. So those three out of that six are consideration. But going on to who I'd really would have wanted, this man, Luis Enrique, currently at PSG. All sorts of different rumours going on, whether he's wanting a new challenge, wanting to move on, or is he sort of haggling and negotiating and being a hard taskmaster, trying to get the best renewal of his contract at PSG. Luis Campos is dead certain that he's going to stay, wants to keep hold of him. There's so many reports that PSG are saying that even if he doesn't want to stay, they'll make him stay and see out his contract up until next summer. But there's every chance if he's getting what he wants, he's got more challenges maybe that he wants to overcome at PSG, like maybe going for the Champions League again. Does he stay? He's got a team there that he's built in a sense. It's in his image. It's the way he wants to play pretty much. So does he stay? Is it all just, as I was saying with some of the players there, with Bruno Ramirez? Is it more of a, let's see who can drag in, who might be interested in you? Let's get PSG to sort of twitch a little bit and think, you know what, we'll give you anything you want. Now I think he's going to have that anyway because PSG have been trying to win the Champions League for such a long time. Tuchel gave it a try. Emery gave it a try. Gaultier gave it a try. Been a few that's given it a go, not quite got there, and this man has done it. So, me, I think PSG, write your own check. Shown us there. They're chucking loads at him. Will he want to move? Who knows? I'm not sure. But he would have been top pick probably. Again, always a risk. Any coach coming in is a risk. I know he's a serial winner to a certain extent. Some people argue that, of course, he won at Barcelona. Who it's not hard to do that. But I think he did well for Spain. Didn't he do a double there? Didn't he do a World Cup and Euro sort of double? I'm sure it was him that was in charge. But I'm sure he did have a good stint with Spain, for example. It's a different type of football, and they had really good players at the time. So again, you could say it's a little bit of that Pep thing where we're at Barcelona, nailed on win. You go to Bayern as well. That's a nailed on win again. Go to City with a lot of money, nailed on win. They've won the league just before the game. So is it a bit of that? Has he proved that he can go to a club who aren't quite there, but then make them there? But again, I'm going to give him his credit for getting PSG over the line for the Champions League. Okay, didn't have the strongest Real Madrid then, but still got to give him his flowers. So, if it's to be believed, there's every chance that he's going to extend the contract. Shame not to have him as an option, and I think we should throw the kitchen sink at him, really, if we're going to really seriously go for him. Available, that's what I'd be looking to do, but who knows. So, going to bring things to an end now. Obviously, next game, 13th? Monday night game anyway, against Leeds at home. So we'll be doing a preview for that game. In the meantime, we've still got this break, this international break. I think there's some FA Cup games when they come back from the international break, and then we get back into the Premier League. So sort of total weight is going to be like plus. We're going to have to watch all our rivals for the top 4, top 5 players. Us, we could end that weekend of coming back to the Premier League in 4th position. We're currently 3rd, but if Villa were winning their game, they would retain or get back that position. Pressure's on. The pressure will be on. If Liverpool win, they can put our lead over them. Chelsea the same. So we really need to, although we can't do anything about what their results are going to be before we play, but we've got to, like I said, preview. Again, thank you for watching Dan Talks United. Like, share, just as important, hit that subscribe button. Cost you nothing. Just hit that subscribe. Show that support for the channel.